What are we discussing on today's podcast, you ask? Well, it's another D-backs crossover. We're Locked On Padres discussing first half NL West thoughts. Is the home run derby really exciting? And then drafting City Connect jerseys, the best and the worst, all on today's Locked On Diamondbacks crossover.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day listening to always charismatic host of this podcast, Millie Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, milliethomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. For more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or just look up Locked On Diamondbacks about Twitter, Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free and available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe on the Locked On Diamondbacks YouTube channel. But without further ado, as we do for every Tuesday podcast, but really it's the Wednesday podcast. We record on Tuesdays, but we drop it on Wednesdays. But without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, as we bring on every week, Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres. There he is. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. You know why I'm doing the best?
Why?
Because there's no Padres baseball. Ooh. I get to take like a break for my sanity. I just get to relax. It's been awesome. And of course, it's been awesome doing these weekly pods with you, man. I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty good. You know, you got Mission Impossible coming out. Gonna be seeing that soon. Oh yeah, I can't wait. We got that. You got the Barbenheimer coming out. You know, I'm attempting both of them. Let me tell you. I got some friends that I think we're gonna try it. That should be a lot of fun. But in general, just pretty good vibes, I think, overall going right now.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit into, a quick discussion of the first half in the NL West, because, for your just mental sake, I know you seems like you're kind of happy to be at the All-Star break, but is there any hope left in you, Javi? There's still 70 games left in the second half. The Padres are still within 6.5 of a wild card. It's not entirely over. We've seen teams like the Phillies last year who were really struggling in the first half and came alive, and you just need 87 to 89 wins. And that's also enough to even make it to the World Series, what we've seen in the last couple of years. So are you giving up yet on this season?
I mean, it's tricky, right? Because if there's a chance, I think AJ Prowler has shown that he is willing to be the gambling maestro, right? He is ready to take chances. So if they're sitting at a 20% chance to make the playoffs, I feel like they might go for it. And I just think we see historically kind of every year, there's going to be some team that slow starts every year that turns it on in the second half. Sometimes that results in a playoff spot, like Philly last year, as you mentioned. Sometimes it doesn't, say Seattle from a couple years ago. Remember the "We Believe" signs, from Ted Lasso for the Mariners. They didn't end up making the playoffs, but they made a late push. So there's going to be some team. And out of all the ones that have been disappointing, from the Padres to the Mets to the Cardinals, the Mariners, the Guardians, and the there's probably one more that I'm forgetting, that one of those teams I would wager is going to be good in the second half. I'm personally betting Seattle. I like that team, but I'm hoping it's the Padres. But hey, regardless of what happens, though, it's actually going to be a really exciting deadline. I'm not just saying that as the Padres podcaster because I want people to listen to my show. It's more it's a huge decision whether or not to go for it. Because it's very rare that teams with as much talent as the Padres have are in this situation where it's do you sell because you just gave up your future for someone like Soto? Can you buy, but you don't have much of a farm? And then it's but you don't want to, give up totally because you still do have the time. So there's a lot of different angles and stuff that I think is going to make, at least until the trade deadline, pretty exciting stuff for Padres baseball. And at the very minimum, you still got Tatis. You still got some fun players to watch, right? So at the minimum, it's going to be fun to watch those guys play.
Yeah, because even if this season doesn't go your way, you're still going to have a core locked in. So it's not like all hope is lost if the Padres they'll make it to the playoffs this year. It will feel bad with the payroll and the stars that you've committed to this season, but you're at least going to know you're going to have a core going forward. They can always retool around and make this team better. And with the money that they've already committed this season, I would not be surprised at all if the Padres are like, you know what, we're within spitting distance of the wild card. Let's go get aggressive at the deadline. I'm actually hoping Mike Hazen has taken notes from AJ Prowler the last couple of years, and I hope he gets aggressive at this deadline. Maybe you don't move like, one of your top prospects like a Jordan Lawler or Drew Jones, but anyone outside like your top two, maybe go and get a few of them and throw them in a package for Bieber, another one of those elite starters, or Corbin Burns on the market if you are serious about making a deep postseason run this year. So I am curious to see how this trade deadline is going to break down. But as it currently stands, how are you just feeling about this division overall? Because the D-backs and Dodgers are currently tied. Do you still feel like my team has a shot to win the division? Do you think the Dodgers are going to pull away in the second half of the season?
I mean, one thing I will say is the Dodgers pitching has been really bad. Mm-hmm. They have some issues there. And this isn't just a Kershaw thing. Like it's, Walker Buehler like might be coming back soon, but for the most part, they get a little bit lit up. Their offense has been so great, with Mookie and Freddie and some of those guys, right? Like they still have the good players over there. They turned Jason Hayward into something, right? So just by sheer reputation, and like I said, being able to turn Jason Hayward, that's just one example. They're able to turn guys who haven't been as great before into all-star level players. I mean, JD Martinez wasn't bad in 2022. He was just fine. And the Dodgers seemingly returned him back to being his elite status at DH. So like they can do all of that stuff. I am a little bit worried about the pitching, and the Diamondbacks, I think, are a little bit better built overall as a team right now. Ooh. And also lazy analysis, but at some point, like the Dodgers can't win the division. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, just based on the law of averages, they can't win the division. And I think that this is a decent enough chance that this is the year that streak finally breaks. And that's no shots to the Dodgers. It's just more of, hey, it's hard to do it for forever. You know what I mean? You can't just win the division every single year. So.
Yeah, and with the deadline, I mean, the Dodgers are always this team you have to watch out for just because they get so shady at the deadline. And we've talked about it so much, but I'm still stunned that they got Trey Turner as a throw-in piece in the Max Scherzer deal.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'll never forget it.
Like all-time incompetent if you're the Nationals. Like you send Turner out in a separate deal, and you get another batch of prospects to combine with the Juan Soto deal, and you're set and running if you're the Nats.
It's just like, and you gave them Scherzer, who's still pitching like a superstar ace at this time. I mean, for Padres fans, obviously the insult to injury of the Ken Rosenthal tweet, but also just like, I made this joke at the time, but it's like when you get the extra onion ring when you get an order of fries at a fast food place, like accidentally. Ooh. That's how they treated Trey Turner, the Nationals. And ever since they did that, I've been proclaiming that Mike Rizzo is a sleeper agent for the Dodgers. I've said this for years. I just cannot believe I can't say it anymore because we got Soto from them, but still, we actually paid like a pretty hefty premium for that trade. You know what I'm saying?
It's a real trade that you guys gave up real assets.
It was like a real trade. And I'm not regretting it or anything like that, or have a take on it one way or the other, but it's just like, of course, what blackmail did they have on this man? You know what I mean? It's like, Keibert Ruiz, and then he's like their second best catching prospect. You know what I mean? That's what it turns out. And he's not even doing anything for the Nationals now. So I just like,
I wish more when it comes to baseball trades. I wish more was like the Juan Soto deal, because I'm like, that's what value should be in Major League Baseball. You're giving up a superstar, transcendent player in his prime. You should get back a litany of prospects. It should be like the NBA, where if you trade Kevin Durant or elite player, you're getting back a young player and a whole bunch of picks back. I don't understand why we see all these baseball trades with superstars, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna take back Connor Wong and someone else.
Yeah, I mean, leverage, man. That's what happens sometimes. Now, it's embarrassing when, say, the Red Sox trade away Mookie Betts for Verdugo, who's a pretty good player, but even still, like, that's a little bit unfortunate. But sometimes it might just be like, I remember the Marlins, like some people I know are like, one of the reasons the Stanton trade was so unfortunate is because they locked themselves into that contract, and that made it that there's only like 3 teams that can trade for him. So that must be hard when you're at the bargaining table, right? Similar to like Damian Lillard of the NBA, where it's kind of hard to trade him when he's like, I only want to go to one team. It's like that just completely kills your leverage that you have over the Heat, right? So I think that's what kind of happens in baseball too, unfortunately, due to the cheapness sometimes of franchises, like your Oaklands, where it's like they won't take on $6 million of salary for just the rest of the year. like 3 years ago with Trevor Story when they really needed a shortstop, right? Like that's just the reality. And when you give a guy a big contract, even if they're good, your Clevelands and maybe even your Diamondbacks or your Rays or whatever might not acquire him just because they're like, we can't do that money. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's insane. We're going to be talking also about the home run derby coming up and be drafting the best and worst City Connect jerseys. Hopefully we get some, I think that's going to be a really fun draft as we do every week here on our Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. But first, I need to talk to the listeners about this wonderful pair of shorts that I am currently wearing. I am talking about my most comfy. Whoa, that is not it. That is the wrong ad. Bird Dogs. That is right, because Bird Dogs make you look good. A Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to be fit, slimmer through the thigh, and give you a nice sculpted look. I'm a guy that hasn't worked out in a couple months here. Haven't been to the gym in a while, but man, when I put my Bird Dogs on, you're like, damn, Millie, did you just go run like a 3K like race? Like your calves are looking phenomenal. Yeah, your thighs are looking great in those shorts. And honestly, it's all about the shorts, because the shorts do the exact same thing as the Lululemon, but they fit way better, and guys, they're way more affordable too. Just trust me. The shorts are made of a non-stiff, non-restricting cotton. They don't put any of that in there. They use They invented this cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit. So if you want to try on Bird Dogs, like all Locked On hosts, because thankfully Bird Dogs sent every host a pair. Like Javi, do you want to talk about your favorite pair of shorts that you be wearing all the time?
I mean, look, when I wore them Bird Dog shorts back at the Yankees game that I went to between the Padres, in which they managed to lose on an Isaiah Kiner-Falefa walk-off, nonetheless, it was hot out. And they were perfect, like really comfortable. They fit every occasion, I think, is why I like them. And, we're in the summer. I'm not a big summer guy. I'm not. I really don't. I'm really not a big. That's a take. Oh, yeah. I'm not a big summer guy, but hey, these things got the job. I was really surprised by how comfortable and breathable, dare I say. I know that's like I know it's not legs aren't breathing, but it felt like they were when I was wearing these things, right? So I really appreciate Bird Dogs. So shouts to the homies over there. They are just fantastic.
They're like a marshmallow. They're light. They're fluffy. Yeah. It's fantastic. Your butt sitting on a pillow. What more could you want? So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler. We won't take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. And don't forget to catch every D-backs and Padres pitch on their hometown broadcast when you download the Sirius XM app and either search up Diamondbacks or Padres. All right, back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. And this doesn't have to be a long discussion, Javi, before we get into our little draft, but are you a person that's a fan of the All-Star festivities? This is going to be a question that's probably brought up every year at this time, but do you actually tune into the home run derby? Do you actually think it's fun? Because I think it's cool. It's exciting. If it's on, I'm watching it, but I'm not recording it. I'm not running to my TV to watch it. But if it's on, I got a beer in hand, sure. But the real question I have for the home run derby is there a way to make this regulated with steroids, or maybe we get aluminum bat in there? I just want to see 600-foot moonshots. I was watching this TikTok video of like Sammy Sosa in 02, and he had like 10 balls over like 515 feet. And it was just insane. It was massive. I want to bring the 550-foot moonshots back to the home run derby. So let's either get aluminum bats, tennis balls, or let's get all these guys roided out, regulated, of course, because I think that would be a lot of fun.
Regulated roids. We have the roids pool and then the regular pool. That's all I have, right? I will say that, and I make this joke a lot too, that how like whatever I'm talking about, baseball fans literally hate any kind of change ever. Like I was there and I was sentient and I was watching as people were complaining about that initial change they made to the home run derby, when they basically made it like it's just a swing fest, and in a good way, where it's like an endurance test. You got to just keep going and whatnot. And then when someone heats up, it's like even more exciting because they just keep hitting him and hitting him. As we saw last night with, Adley Rutschman had a moment when he went, switch sides of the plate, batted righty. And then with Julio Rodriguez, when he went absolutely, sicko mode. So that was really cool. And I really think that the rule changes did it for me, man. This is not like I'm not on. Don't worry, I'm not on the MLB. Big MLB isn't paying me to say this, but I really do think that like ever since they made those rule changes, I really like it when a player is in the zone. It's really great. I'm not saying I watch it with the utmost amount of hype. Like I'm losing my mind. I think that the one exception was probably when Shohei Ohtani was on it. Cause I remember like actively, like everyone, it felt like a moment. I was nervous watching it, and clearly he was too, since he struggled out of the gate. Right. But like, that was like a moment, and it was really great. And I think aside from that though, I really think the rule changes have helped. I love watching it. I love how fast paced it is. The old one, I always felt like, man, this feels like it's going to last like 4 hours. You know what I mean? I have to like wait, and that wasn't the perfect pitch. That wasn't the perfect pitch. I'm not blaming the players. It's just that I kind of like that. And I imagine there'll be some tinkering. I sometimes wonder if the reaching the bonus time, the extra 30 seconds, if it's a little too easy, if everyone always seems to get the plus 30, aside from, Mookie Betts apparently yesterday. So maybe that could be fine tuned, but maybe add some funny effects. I would love that Nickelodeon style, what the NFL did. You know what I'm saying? Maybe have some slime go, some computer generated madness, have fireworks pop off the bats. I don't know. I just feel like we could be like very arcadey, be like that NBA Jam game. Ooh. You know what I mean? Except that it's MLB, the Home Run Derby Jam. I see it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because there's definitely a better pace with the new rules. Because even though you're hitting like 30 home runs in one round, like before, if you go look up like old numbers, guys are winning like 8-7 because, like you said, they're waiting for the perfect pitch, and they actually weren't getting to that rhythm like we see now. But I actually think at the beginning of your little monologue, I think you actually came up with a better idea for the home run derby. Half the players are your normal Major League Baseball players, and then the other half are either like retired, roided up players, or just like your local Joe who's like 30 bodybuilder, but he's roided up. Maybe he's a former like D2 baseball player. We just bring in a bunch of those guys. I think I would enjoy that. Roids versus non-roids. See who's really stronger. And you get like Mike Trout. Man. Yeah. I would love really that. Good. Mike Trout.
I know sorry for interrupting, but I know that the KBO does like a bunt challenge thing, basically like curling rules where you try to get it as close to the circle. And it's like, I like it. It's creative. Also, again, shouts to the KBO, not just for that brilliant idea with the bunt derby thing, but that they have like or at least had, I haven't checked recently, but like their trophy for the championship was just this giant like demon sword looking thing. Like it was just like, it looked like the sword, the King Arthur sword, and they're like lifting it at the end as they won. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever, man. Why can't MLB?
Is it like one of those like 12-foot swords they just swing around?
Just look up, everyone who's listening to this pod or watching this pod, look up like KBO championship sword trophy, something along that line. And one of the pictures, just a guy holding it up, and I'm like, this is like He-Man, Masters of the Universe. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Oh man, I love it so much. I think it was during the pandemic year too. So
that's a way. That should be American tradition. We need to change. You really want like a trophy? Getting like a katana would be way sicker. Some sort of weapon. I guess maybe here it should be like a gun.
Maybe we should alternate it. Every year it's a different looking. Like not just in the look, the Super Bowl trophy. Here's what they did for the Rams. No, I mean like, or the ring in the case of the Super Bowl. But let's ham it up. It's like one year you might get a golden bat that's encrusted with gems, and the next year it'll be like, I don't know, like let's say someone, nunchucks, and then but instead of like instead of 2 sticks, it's like one of them's a baseball or something like. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be really fun. Baseball nunchucks. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's a player who has a nickname, so you make sure that you design it in a certain way. I know that there's a lot of like revenue things, and you want to be able to sell replicas and whatnot. You have to make them for everyone that's part of, say, the D-backs organization if they won, right? Like everyone's getting some sort of ring or trophy. Maybe that's part of it, I guess, but I don't know. Figure it out. Just have one unique trophy. Give everyone else like a little ring thing. I think it would be fantastic. I really like imagine that. Imagine like being so excited. Imagine how that would kill on Twitter. Just being like, oh my God, we have a player named like Gary Sanchez on the Padres, like was nicknamed the Kraken. Like the trophy this year is an octopus. It's just like gold.
That would actually be pretty. That would be pretty nasty. A golden Kraken would be nasty.